New bill forbids sexuality displays in public schools in an anti-LGBT move. In West Virginia, the West Virginia Legislature have now introduced House Bill 2157, a controversial bill on February 10th, 2021. This bill proposes eliminating any teachings of sexuality and forbids displays meant to promote understanding among all students related to such instructions in public schools. Although it doesn't specify any particular group or sexuality in written form, it is widely known that it is an attempt to ban any mentions of the LGBTQ community. The bill plans to bar any display of pro-LGBT subject matter, even if it has nothing to do with actual sex. The bill offers no guidance about what that specifically entails, but it likely applies to things like rainbow pride flags, an affirming bulletin board, or safe spaces stickers, for instance.
Wow.
Yeah.
They are so scared of anything gay LGBT that they want to just like, let's just not talk about any. You know what? This is, let's move on. I mean, so how far are they going to go, right? Because, for example, if we have stories for children with two princes falling in love with each other or two princesses, then are they going to like remove all romantic children's stories? Like, are they going to ban Snow White? Are they going to ban Sleeping Beauty? Are they going to ban all of these, like every single story that there's any because if they are anti-LGBT, then it shouldn't just be sexuality, like any form of romance, any form of attraction, any form of any couple. You can't even mention, well, you know what, you can't even say mom and dad, because if you say mom and dad, you should be able to say two dads. Like, you shouldn't, any form of people coming together in any form of union, you shouldn't talk about it because it could lead to LGBT then.
Well, okay, Doorknobpad is asking a good question. What is a quote-unquote sexuality display? A human being human? So it basically comes down to, like, educational materials. It would prohibit K through 12 schools from allowing queer and transgender people to raise awareness of the true nature that individuals like them have to face in society that have long been held down by hatred and discrimination. And so a lot of this has to do with people are comparing this to this proposed bill. So guys, this has just been introduced, it hasn't been enacted, good thing it can still be rejected. But they're comparing it to similar so-called no promo homo laws currently on the books in 5 states, including Texas, Mississippi, and Alabama, that prevent teachers from either discussing LGBT topics in the classroom or positively mentioning queer and trans people. Yeah, so I almost think of it in a similar situation to Russia's so-called like gay propaganda laws, where you're not allowed to have like positive portrayals of it, like, because that's promotion of it, right? It's not exactly the same, but it gives me a similar flavor. The bill, quote unquote, so this is a quote from a state representative who opposes this bill. They said, quote, the bill will actually prohibit welcoming displays from student-led organizations that proclaim acceptance from all. Many schools around our state have GSA, or Gay Straight Alliance organizations that promote the unifications of all students regardless of how they identify. And then here's the thing, though. It's like, this is about, like, oh, schools can't teach sexuality. But schools don't, like, teach sexuality. Most LGBTQ materials are no different from schools teaching the differences between girls and boys, separating specific interests of males and females without any focus on actual sex. In reality, human gender identities go far beyond just male and female. It's just absolutely ludicrous. And there's questions about how far this will go. So it's like, are students not even allowed to have like rainbow flag stickers on like their lockers or their binders and stuff like that? That's not the sense that I got. It seems like it's more materials put forward by the school. Armin, you had something to say?
Well, two things. First of all, Peter, I know you might be joking, but I need to call this out. Peter saying Virginia sounds like Iran. Last time I checked, they're not executing gay people in Virginia, so that's ridiculous. I hope you don't really mean that. Also, for people, I also want to point out how this supports my claim that most cancel culture comes from the right. Okay? Most cancel culture comes from the right, not the left. Yes, the left also is involved in a lot of cancel culture, but most of it comes from the right. The thing is that it has been so normalized and accepted, and when it comes from the right, and people are so used to it that they don't even recognize it as cancel culture. People just recognize it as religious people being religious. But if you actually look at what we mean when we say cancel culture, then all of this is cancel culture.
Yeah.
And it's astronomically the cancel culture that the right gets involved when it is like on a different level, like that, how normal and how widespread it is. Okay. So just remember that when people talk about cancel culture, just remind them that most of it happens in the right. But go ahead.
Adam had just kind of like a funny joke saying, I displayed my sexuality once. I appear before the judge on Tuesday. But I wanted to give a little bit more clarity. So here is an excerpt of the proposed bill. A bill to amend the Code of West Virginia, blah, 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 relating to sexuality, forbidding displays relating to sexuality in public school facilities, and forbidding the teaching of sexuality in public schools. The state board shall prohibit persons from putting up displays relating to sexuality in public school facilities and forbid the teaching of sexuality in public schools. Note the purposes of the bill is to, and then it just kind of repeats itself. But here's what's ridiculous. Like, this is so broad that you're not allowed to teach sexuality. Like, this is something that a lot of like not very smart or knowledgeable people do when they're like, oh, gender studies, that means women's studies. No, everyone has a gender, right? Like, or they're like, oh, sexuality, that means only gay people have a sexuality. No, everyone has a sexuality. So schools are not allowed to teach sexuality. So what, you're not going to talk about heterosexual kids anymore? Or are you not allowed to talk about sex education anymore? It's right. So vague.
I mean, we have like every single health institution, taking preventing, when it comes to preventing disease, preventing unwanted pregnancy, making sure children grow up to have the healthiest, sex life. All the experts, all the studies show that, sex education is an important part of education, right? Like we know that's an important thing that the school system needs to provide to children growing up. So given how obvious that information is now with all the evidence and all the data we have, imagine how much you're betraying these children if you want to remove all of that, for the sake of your homophobia, for the sake of your bigotry, for the sake of your religion, for the sake of your sensitive, these are right-wingers being snowflakes, by the way, when they, creating their own safe spaces and stuff, right? For the sake of all of that, you are basically betraying the people that were trusted to you, for you to give them the information and the education they require to be able to be functioning as adults in a society the best that they could possibly be. Like you're on purpose withholding information from them that they need. You shouldn't be trusted with children if that's your priorities. But go on.
There's one quote I wanted to highlight. Fairness West Virginia, the statewide civil rights advocacy organization dedicated to fair and equal treatment of LGBT West Virginians, released a statement, quote, House Bill 2157 is a bad bill that will harm all of our students. It was designed to silence teachers from showing any support to their LGBT students, but it's written so broadly that it would also likely prevent health teachers from talking to teens about teen pregnancies or ways to prevent the spread of STDs. So great job. And a lot of this comes down to like kind of public health displays about like teen suicide rates, you know, and where to find resources for dealing with discrimination and ostracization, you know, like it really drives me crazy. It's absolutely insane how much some of these people just like hate differences. Yeah. No good. But I am hopeful that this bill will not succeed. So that is one positive. It's just been introduced, but we do still need to watch things like this.
Hey guys, if you're a fan of blasphemy and sexy Kali, you know, like me, then that means that you probably want more blasphemous art. Well, I have good news for you. If you subscribe to our newsletter, link in the description below, then you get a free booklet of some of the tastiest blasphemous art available today. So, if you want some of this delicious blasphemy, and we're so generous that we update it for you guys weekly for free, all you have to do is sign up for our newsletter below. You can also go to blasphemousart.com/ebook. That's blasphemousart.com/ebook. Sign up with your email, and you get free gifts of this tasty blasphemy. What could be better? So make sure you sign up. Link below.